this next class is also the next chapter of NCERT, that is Kings, Farmers and Towns. So the timeline of this chapter is basically from 6th century BC to 6th century CE. So those who have taken who would have seen my previous video would have got this, that I am not going here to explain the basics of the chapter, but what I am going to do is to recap all the facts that is there in the chapter, or to say that is there in the NCERT. So the first thing that is there is effects of 6th century in history. 6th century in history is pretty important because after the decline of Harappa, the next civilization, or to say the next urbanization that started to happen, the bedrock of that happens in the 6th century. Before that there was Vedic times, but what we see in Vedic times is not very big cities in that sense. So one thing is that, another is Buddhism and Jainism also grew in 6th century BC. So Mahajanpadas and oligarchies. So these were the two things that was there. So there were total 16 Mahajanpadas. For example, Kurus, Panchala, Gandhara and all these. And oligarchies were the places where not a single ruler used to take decisions, but a set of rulers used to take decisions. So they were oligarchies. So why these used to happen? Why it happened that in the 6th century only that these urbanization took place? So there are reasons for it. So for example, there are some important things that happened in 6th century CE. One was the advent of iron, that R.S. Sharma talks a lot of it. So because of the advent of iron, what happens is that this whole Ganga Valley region that is there, so it's very dense forest. To cut that forest you need iron, and moreover if you have iron plow, then only you can dig the soil very good. So these were the two reasons that why iron was important. Other than that, there was paddy transplantation that started happening. So basically paddy transplantation means that at one point of time you will sow the seeds in a smaller area. Then when the tree will be like small, then you will take the tree from there and you will harvest in a bigger field. So it's like it's a two-time process. मतलब ये ऐसा नहीं कि एक बार बीज डाल दिया और फसल हो जाएगा. So it's a two-time process. But what happens with this is that productivity increases a lot. And another thing with rice in general is that wherever there is rice eating people, obviously rice can feed more people. So these were the reasons why this happened, why things changed after 6th century BCE only. So, and what are the reasons? So in this, what are the reasons for Magadha being powerful? So again, one thing is iron mines. So you see near Magadha in Jharkhand and all this area, there is a lot of iron mines. Then there are elephants that from Nepal, or to say in all this area there were so many elephants, and elephants are important in wars. Ganga and its tributaries. If anyone know the geography of that area will know that there is Ganga, then its tributaries like Gandak and a lot more. So and we all know that earlier this irrigation was primarily based that like people can have water near river only. So that was the reason. Then Rajgir being fortified. So that was there. So it's because of being fortified, it obviously helped Magadha in war and all. Then what are the sources to study this period? Especially this Mauryan period. So one is Indica of Megasthenes. Megasthenes was Greek ambassador in the court of Chandragupta. So one thing about Indica is that we don't have Indica. The book is lost, but the reference of Indica we find in many other books. Another is Kautilya of Arthashastra. All of us know about this Chanakya and Kautilya. Both are obviously the same names. And his book Arthashastra also gives a lot of things on administration and other things. Buddhist, Puranic and Sanskritic literature. From that also we get reference of this time. Then one of the major source that is there is Ashokan inscription. So before that there was no history in India, or to say there was no culture to inscribe things or to make inscriptions. So Ashoka was the first to inscribe inscriptions on stone, or to say on polished materials. Then you know a lot about where are Ashokan inscriptions. One is there in Delhi also. So many obviously. Ashokan inscription, in which language it was written? So basically it was written in Prakrit, because at that time the main language that was used was obviously not Sanskrit, it was Prakrit. So it was mainly written in Prakrit. But we see some exceptions. So for example, in Northwest you will find the language as Aramaic and Greek. And the script in Northwest also you will find somewhere as Kharosti. So these are the exceptions that we find in Ashokan inscription. Then how Brahmi and Kharosti was deciphered. So this is interesting, because Brahmi, when we used to, like we were trying to decipher it, then the Bengalis the priests, or to say the priests basically, were trying to compare Brahmi with Sanskrit, because their understanding of history was that Sanskrit is the oldest language, it would have been used, so they were comparing it. But when James Princep compared it with Prakrit, then what we find is that could have been read. So this is how Brahmi was read. And Kharosti, so for example, the Indo-Greek rulers used to rule in India for one period of time. So during that point of time, what happened is they issued coins in which Kharosti was also there, as well as Greek was also there. So their names were written in both the languages. So obviously Britishers could have read Greek, so they have the idea that they compared it कि इसमें फिर क्या होगा Kharosti में. And when we compared Kharosti with Prakrit, so this was a triangle that was made, and finally we were able to decipher Kharosti also, and both the credit goes to James Princep. What is there in Ashoka Dhamma? Basically very normal things. Respect towards elder, generosity towards Brahman, treating slaves properly, respect for religion. So these were the things, like accepted things, were there in Ashokan Dhamma. Morally accepted things were there in Dhamma. And then many places, another thing about Ashoka is that in starting his names were at many places were written as Piyadasi, meaning pleasant to behold. Not Ashoka was written everywhere, but it was later that we got Ashoka, the name Ashoka. As far as Ashokan Dhamma is concerned, there are some historians like Romila Thapad and all who argue that Ashokan Dhamma was a way to consolidate power. Then political centers during this time, so obviously capital was Patliputra, provincial centers were Taxila, Ujjaini, Suvarnagiri. So as far as Taxila and Ujjaini are concerned, both are, so Taxila is in extreme north, and then there is Ujjaini, and both are located on distant land route. Another is Suvarnagiri, that is near gold mines. So these are the political centers. Then we will move to what was the nature of administration. So there are some historians who argue that the nature of administration was so there are some historians who argue that the nature of administration during this time was uniform, and the argument that they give for it is that inscription that we find from east to west, or to say from anywhere, there is huge similarity in that, and because of that similarity there is uniformity. But others say that in spite of this, if we see the geography of that area, hilly mountains to fertile land, we cannot say that it can be uniform, and the sort of technology that was there. So the more accepted argument is that near provincial centers the administration was more consolidated, and while it goes outside, this decentralization happened. Then after that, another ruler who's there is Kushanas, came from Central Asia. he came with the idea of divine kings. Divine kings means king like God, or to say, or the argument that they give was the reason that they are ruling is because they have the verdict of God. They are ruling on with the verdict of God. So that is why, to make him divine, he made a mutt in Mathura. Then used titles like Devputra, son of God, and this tradition was very much there in China also. Then we find, then there is another pillar inscription, that is Allahabad pillar inscription, also known as Prayag Prashasti, written by Harisena, written in Sanskrit, and Harisena was important officer in Samudragupta's court. And one thing is pretty, I would be clear that this question and questions on sources are very possible that these questions will come. And Purasthiti means ईओलॉजी, मतलब बेसिकली चने की झाड़ पे चढ़ा देना. Then another is Junagadh pillar inscription. So this is an important, this can be an important question in a sense from examination point of view, because a lot of questions come on sources. So as far as Junagadh pillar inscription is concerned, it talks about Sudarshana Lake, which was an artificial reservoir. So because of flood and other reasons, it got damaged. So Rudraman, who was a Shaka ruler, went there and repaired it without taking any taxes from the peasants, and that he inscribed it, that he did this. So this information we got from Junagadh pillar inscription. And then there are some terminologies which are very important, because that shows that during that time there was a social stratification, or especially economic stratification, that was there in the society. And those terminologies are basically Gahapati. So it has two meanings. One is that owner of master, like owner of master of household. So one is that, but another was that second class or third class citizens were also referred as Gahapati. So this is there, but in Tamil literature also we see there are words like this. For example, Vellar. Vellar was used for a landlord. Then Usavar for plowman. So these are the, then another terminology which is very important is Agrahara. So Agrahara was a land granted to Brahmins, which was exempted of tax. And this land became that important that in Indian feudalism also this land had a major role to play, or to say land grant had a huge role to play. Then the another sources can be like Harsh Charita, which was biography of Harshvardhan, and it was written by Bana Bhata, and obviously the language was Sanskrit. Then another source is Prabhavati Gupta. So as far as Prabhavati Gupta is concerned, she is very important in a sense that one thing was that she was the daughter of Chandragupta, married to Vaktaka kingdom, and had access to land grant. The thing is that women were not allowed to have private property according to Manu Smriti, and generally it was not the case. But in spite of this, we see that Prabhavati Gupta is donating land to others. So that is important. And in Kodumanal, Tamil Nadu, we find the evidence of bead making. Then there is high professional merchant in Tel Matsuvan and Sethis in Prakrit. So these are the two words again used. So Sethis are used in Prakrit and Matsuvan in Tamil. Coins. This is also important because a lot of questions, there is probability of coming from it. So who are numismatics? So numismatics are the one who study coin. Then there are, Indo-Greek were the first rulers who this printed their name on the coin. So it is important. One thing is that in ancient history, you all should have in mind that it's not only when Indians were ruling, people were coming from outside, let it be Kushanas or Indo-Greeks or Shakas coming from outside, and they were the first to have their name written on the coin. Then during Kushanas, we see largest hoard of gold coin. So gold coin also comes with Kushanas more or less.
As far as Roman coin is concerned, that we found in South India. So it means that there was trade going on between South India and Roman Empire. Then there were some tribal republics. They were not kingdoms. They were tribal republic. Yet they issued coins. And for that we get evidences from the Yahudiyas of Punjab and Haryana's. They had issued coins. And the best gold coin, if we are talking about the quality of the coin, that we get from Gupta period. But after that, we see the decline of coin or the circulation of coin, and also decline in the quality of the coin. And because of that, we see a lot of debate regarding it. What was the condition? So there are some historians who argue that era of decline came, and then there would be some historians who would say that coin circulation of coin cannot be the only measure to see the success or to see the economy of the society. So these are the debates regarding it. So with this we ended this chapter. Hope to meet you again in the next chapter. And one thing that I will request you all to share these, if you find these videos helpful, then only share these videos with your friends, those who are preparing in CUET. Thanks.